G'day guys, how's it going? So today I'm talking to you about timeframes. Now I've answered probably hundreds of questions on timeframes over the years. I get things like, do Fibs work on the 1 hours? What's the best time frame to use Fibs on? Is a daily bull flag valid? What's the best time frame to trade? Questions like this get all the time, and so hopefully this video will help clear up a lot of them. So I honestly believe that all the technical analysis that I use works on every time frame. It does not matter as long as you're paying attention to the candles. You can ignore the time frame, you can ignore the price, you can ignore the percentages. The candles are what matters in my opinion. Obviously when you're at an all-time high, you don't have candles to go on, things change a little bit there, but 95% of my trading career, we've had candles to the left to base our trades off. So yeah, I honestly think that time frame doesn't matter in terms of what tools work. So what we'll do is we'll come have a look at my trading view and we'll get stuck into it. So what we're looking at here is Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame, right? And so we'll just show that Fibs do work on the 4 hours. Now the important thing to remember here is Fibs don't work every time, but they do work pretty often. I'm a big fan of Fibs, and I do believe they work on all time frames. So you can see here, right? We had a perfect bounce off the 38, and then we ran. We're currently having a bounce like a double bottom on the 61.8, so it'll be interesting to see what happens from here. But there's two examples of how Fibs does work on the 4-hour time frame. Now if we come down to the 15 minutes, I'm sure we'll be able to find some great examples again of Fibs working. So in fact I think there's probably one right there, a beautiful bounce off the 50. What else have we got? This here, this move down looks like it held, yep, spot on at the 61.8 held. So I genuinely believe that Fibs work on all time frames. If we go to the weekly, this is something that I've been watching for a long time. I'm pretty sure this is going to be about the 50 fib of the entire move. I'm just trying to get that right on the bottom, yep. Look at that, 50 fib of the entire move is where we held, where we bounced. So, and we're currently holding up at the 23. So that's what I mean. I believe Fibs work on every time frame. I believe that most bits of technical analysis work on every time frame as long as you keep them relevant to the time frame. So something else in terms of patterns. Now I know people that are looking at this as a daily bull flag. It could be, right? It's anytime you're using trend lines, I mean most of trading is subjective, especially when you bring trend lines into it, it gets extremely subjective. You could consider this a daily bull flag. Personally, I don't though. It's way too small, it's way too tight. There is 13 candles that make it up, and probably 5 or 6 of them touch both trend lines or come very close to touching both trend lines. Doesn't mean it's not a daily bull flag. I wouldn't call it a daily bull flag though. What I would call it is a 4-hour bull flag. Although on the 4 hours it actually looks more like a, a descending triangle. Because we had sort of a solid level there, and we came down like that. So it looks like a descending triangle that we've broken out of. But I would consider it a 4-hour pattern. Now, this is something I didn't even realise I did until I was trying to teach people maybe 2 weeks ago who were asking questions. And I think for me to consider it a valid pattern on that time frame, I need at least 30 candles. So you can see this is 60. If it was that long, that's when I'd start considering it, okay, this is a 4-hour pattern. Now, it doesn't mean that the bull flag we're looking at on the dailies isn't a bull flag. It doesn't mean it's not a bull flag, because it is. I just don't consider it a daily bull flag. I consider it a 4-hour bull flag. And same thing, like I'm sure there's, let's see if we can find one. Something like this. I would not have considered that a 4-hour bull flag because it's too small. But if you look at the 15 minutes, I bet you that is a really nice bull flag, right? That to me looks like a 15 minutes, not a great example, I don't love it, but it's definitely a 15, maybe a 30-minute pattern, right? There's 200 candles there, maybe a 30-minute pattern. And so why that's relevant, why that matters, is in terms of your expectations for the move. So every daily reversal starts on the 1 minute. There's going to be a reversal on the 1 minute that leads to a reversal on the 5 minutes, 15 minutes, that's going to continue on to the dailies. That doesn't mean that every 1 minute reversal is going to lead to a daily reversal. It's just that every daily reversal has to start somewhere. So why that's important, right, is you want to be using entries, exits, and targets on the one time frame. So if I'm seeing this 4 hour, let's get rid of these, so we're not getting confused about what we're looking at. If I'm seeing this 4 hour descending wedge, descending triangle, after a massive bull run, that's kind of a bullish pattern. If it's a 4 hour pattern, I'm looking at 4 hour time frames, 4 hour targets. So there is currently a 4 hour supply up here. That's what I'd be targeting if I was trading this pattern. Now, I might be expecting it to break because we've hit it before. You know, we've hit it here. We're still pretty bullish. If I'm expecting it to break, then I'm looking for the next 4 hour target. So I'm looking up here. I'm not going to look at this 4 hour, let's call it a bull flag because it's just going to make it easier for me. Let's call it a 4 hour bull flag. I'm not going to look at this 4 hour bull flag and go, oh, that's it. 4 hour bull flag, we're going to go break all time high. We're going all the way to the top. Because on the dailies, there's a ton of resistance. I mean, even on the 4 hour, but on the dailies, there's a ton of resistance between here and there. I wouldn't be expecting a 4 hour bull flag to be the reason we break this type of daily resistance. Whereas if we, on the dailies, were forming this big bad bull flag, well, that was way too small, but something like that, then I'd be like, okay, this looks extremely bullish. If we break to the upside, then there's probably a good chance we're at least going to visit this level, possibly break it. Whereas with this 4 hour one, let me just get rid of all those scribbles. With this 4 hour one, I am more looking at the 4 hour supply that I had marked in there, and maybe if we break it, sort of these two levels, right? There's when I say these two, there's another supply zone in there. So you should always be trying to pick targets on the relevant time frame. And this is what I mean when I say like ignore percentages, ignore price, ignore the time frame. 95% of the time you'll have candles to the left. When we're at all-time high, you don't. 95% of the time you'll have candles to the left to look at. When you do, you can ignore everything else and use those for targets. So if I couldn't see the price, the percentage, the time frame, I would still be targeting this level, looking at this pattern. Now, I could be looking at these candles. These might be daily candles, these might be 5 minute candles, they might be 1 minute candles. That would be my next target on this pattern, on what I'm seeing at the moment. So it's really, really important to pick your targets and your stop loss. Keep it all like relevant to the time frame. Don't go seeing a 15-minute evening star and thinking, oh, that's it. This is going to be a daily reversal. Like if we went down to 15 minutes now and found an evening star, don't go thinking, okay, that's it. We're going to 20K, right? You've got to keep your expectations relevant to the time frame you're trading. Now, talking about keeping your expectations relevant to the time frame you trade on brings me to another important point. I've heard so many times, oh, you can't make money scalping, the moves are too small. If you want to make big money, you need to catch big moves. I don't believe that at all. All that matters is your risk to reward. I have taken scalps with a 0.08% stop loss. That's tiny. That is a negligible stop loss. But I can take a 0.08% stop loss trade and get a 10 to 1 risk to reward. I'm going to make the exact same amount on my account off that trade as I do on a daily 10 to 1 trade that has a 20% stop loss, right? If I'm risking 1% of my trade, 1% of my account every trade, then it does not matter whether I'm doing it on the 5 minutes or the dailies. It doesn't matter if it's a 1% move or a 100% move. As long as I am risking 1% of my account and the risk to reward is the same, if they're both 5 to 1 on the scalp and the swing trade, I'm going to make the exact same amount of money. That's something I see really commonly people not understanding. I've done a full video on it that I'll link down below. But don't worry about percentage gains. Don't worry about the size of moves. Worry about your risk to reward. It's the only number that matters when you're looking at a chart. In terms of your trading, the only two numbers that matter, I believe, are your risk to reward and your win rate. Don't care about any other numbers. Don't tell me about them. Don't want to know about them. Those are two numbers that matter. And now we come to my final point, which is what is the best time frame to trade on? Now, I do believe that there is a best time frame to trade on, but I don't believe it's the same for everyone. I think it depends heavily on your personality and your lifestyle. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's start with lifestyle. I used to work. I used to have a full-time job, and I would miss so many trades because I was trying to breakout trade the 1 hour candles. Breakout trading requires you to set alerts and act when there's a breakout. When you're trading the 1 hour candles, let's say that you have an 8 hour shift and you can't trade during that shift. So I don't trade off my phone. So that meant that I couldn't enter trades if I was at work and the alerts went off. That's 8 hours, which is 8 candles that I cannot trade. I'm asleep for 8 hours of the day, so there's another 8 hours. So there's 16 hours out of the day that I could not trade if I am trading the 1 hourly candles. That leaves me with 8 hours, best case scenario, because I'm exercising, I'm doing other things. It was really, really hard for me to trade the 1 hour candles. I was missing so many trades. It just did not fit my lifestyle. So what I did was I started trading the 4 hours. If I work an 8 hour shift, there's only 2 candles that happen in an 8 hour shift, which means that I have plenty of time to react when things happen. So if we go and look at the 4 hour, let's say that you were looking at that 61.8 bounce we were looking at before. If you're trading the 4 hour time frame, you would have had, nearly a day. Over a day to react, right? So you can wake up, you can go to work, you can forget about your trade, you can go to sleep, you can wake up the next morning and go, oh, hang on, that alert went off yesterday morning, I better get to that, and you still can do it. So for me, trading the 4 hours works so much better with my work life, right? So I believe that, especially if you're working a full-time job, either trading high time frames like the 4 hours or really low time frames like the 5-15 minutes, but scheduling a block. You might come home, have 3 hours set aside where you do nothing but trade the 5-minute candles. I think those two, the two extremes, work really, really well for people who have a full-time job. I find that hourlies to be more difficult if you have a full-time job. So that's what I mean by lifestyle, right? Find a time frame that suits your lifestyle. It might be the dailies. You might be super busy. You might want to look at the charts, chart for an hour on a Monday and then just look at them for 10 minutes each day and take trades based on that. Daily might be the go for you. Figure out what suits your lifestyle. On the other hand, personality. I also sucked at trading the dailies, right? I am really, really good at trading the 4 hours and above. I can set and forget. I've gone camping for like 3 days, had a trade on, had all my orders in place, didn't think about it till I got home, came home, made money. How good's that? I love scalping. I love sitting there, just getting in the zone for 2-3 hours, just focusing on that thing, nothing else, and making money that way. I suck at trading the hourlies. If I try and trade the hourlies, I don't suck at it, but it's no good for my head. If I try and trade the hourlies, enough happens that I watch them constantly, but not enough happens that I need to watch them constantly like the 5 minutes. So what ends up happening is, let's say it's an 8 hour block that I'm in this trade, I will check that trade every 15 minutes. I'll get nothing else done because I'm constantly checking the trade, but there's not enough happening to actually manage the trade in that 8 hour period. So it stresses me out. It just does not work for me mentally. It doesn't fit my personality, so I haven't taken a trade on the hourly candles at least this year, and honestly probably for a year. So figure out what suits your lifestyle and what suits your personality. And for some people, there might be a clash. Like you might be an hourly trader and you're working full time. That's going to be difficult. You might have to figure out a strategy that works with that. I do believe there are best time frames to trade. I just don't think that your best time frame and my best time frame are necessarily going to be the same thing. So that brings me to the end of this video. I think it's going to be a long one. I'll stitch it together in a sec. But I hope that clears up a lot of the questions that I regularly see on time frames. I believe that most technical analysis works on every time frame as long as you keep your expectations relevant to that time frame. I believe that there is a best time frame, like I just said, but it's your best time frame, not my best time frame. And I think that's about everything I wanted to cover. If there's anything else, I'll make a second video. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a ripper week. It's a beautiful day here. I'm going to go work on my van. Really excited. And I'll talk to you guys soon.